Our eyes are mostly facing our mobile phones, tablets, and laptops. This episode invites you to look at our world so that in admiring its beauty, we are inspired to care for our common home. Hello, everyone. My name is Gail Galang, and welcome to our peaceful classroom. Our peaceful classroom is a dedicated space where parents, educators, and other professionals come together to talk about ideas on how we may promote positivity and peace in the lives of our children and our teens. Today's episode will focus on one very essential aspect of psychological wellness, our environmental health and well-being. Humans interact with the environment constantly. Maintaining a healthy environment is central to increasing quality of life and years of healthy living. Since we are in a pandemic, poor environmental health will have consequent effects on people who are already at risk. We need to join hands to maintain healthy homes and communities, as these are essential to our collective environmental health. Let us begin by appreciating the gift of nature through ikebana. Ikebana is the Japanese art of arranging flowers, blossoms, branches, leaves, and stems that aim to bring out the inner qualities of these natural elements and reveal symbolisms that nurture our well-being. Let us watch a demonstration by Yvette Christine Poe, Ikebana Rank 8 Junkako instructor 1st grade, as granted by the Ikebana headquarters in Kyoto, Japan. Yvette is a veteran real estate broker and a pranic healer since 2014.
Demonstration of the arrangement called Jiyuka. Jiyuka is freestyle arrangement for ikenobo. Now, Jiyuka is fun, so I decided to use today a bowl shaped like an elephant. Being that our audience will be young students, so I decided to use this can be a cereal bowl that is shaped like an elephant. Okay, so we're going to start. I chose to use, because the bowl is round, I chose to use as a frame to continue the shape of the bowl, snake plants. This is the snake plant, and I already shaped it so that it will be shaped like a round frame. Okay, so I'm going to do the frame of this arrangement so that we can show you the shape following the round vase. Now, to frame it further, I am choosing to use a variegated pandan leaf, variegated pandanus. Now let's see, the longer pandanus will be used for this area. We're doing the frame so that we have the shape of the arrangement first as a guide. So I am guiding the arrangement. Now there's wind, so we have to make sure that the wind does not destroy the frame. Okay. All right, so we're framing it. All right, there, you see? Okay. In Ikenobo, the arranger's arrangement faces the arranger first. Then we will show it to you when it's done. Okay? Now I have chosen the mom flower as a focus flower. So I will just put the focus flower here in the center. There. Okay. And another, I'm using 2 chrysanthemums for focus. Okay, you see, I use the chrysanthemum for focus flower. Then to give it an accent, I'm using a contrast color of the chrysanthemum, a yellow color for contrast. And I'll put it here to complete the look. Okay. Now I am using this alocasia. This is an alocasia leaf. I think I would like to use an alocasia leaf to give balance to this side of the arrangement. So let's use an alocasia here. Okay. And another alocasia leaf here in front for balance.
Nature is truly beautiful. However, consumerism and irresponsible development have caused environmental degradation and global warming. Coming next, Sonia Mendoza calls on all of us, parents, teachers, and students, to take swift and united global actions in her presentation, which she refers to as Dancing with Nature.
Day 1, God's work begun. The light and dark He made apart. Day 2, still more to do. The sky and sea were made to be. And it was good, just as it should. As all creation God did form. By the power of His word. The power of His word. Day 3, came plants and trees. As by His hand God made the land.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sonia Mendoza, formerly the Vice President of the Christian Life Community of the Philippines, and I was assigned to be the Chair of the Environment Committee. It started from 2012 to 2016. Now allow me to present to you what I prepared, little it may be, just to show you my willingness to help protect our planet. The title of my presentation is Dancing with Nature. Why do you think I gave that as a title? First, for me, it is an awareness of the wonders of nature. It is a recognition how important is this in our lives. And it is my gratitude to God who gave all these magnificent gifts to all of us. Number one is dancing with nature that I would like to present briefly. As I said earlier, it is life-giving. If I need to share just briefly about my life, I was born in Baguio City. And in 5 years, I was growing up full of joy, wandering around, running in the hills while picking blackberries. And when I get tired, I sit down and watch the clouds kissing the mountain. Many times I played around and crossed the river, with very clear running water, and I threw out my coins and I enjoyed picking it up because it can be found easily. Let's understand by heart the meaning of environmental wellness. It is a process that involves learning about nature and contributing to the health of the planet. Sometimes it gives me a thought of it may be very difficult to contribute to the health of the planet, but we have to feel good because in our own little way, we are doing it almost daily. How? By just cleaning our environment, by not stepping on grasses that are good enough and being cared of by others, not picking flowers around when we enjoy looking at it, and in so many ways. Environmental wellness inspires us to live a lifestyle that we need to sustain, something that could be respectful of our surroundings. Let us remember, at the beginning of my presentation, I presented to you the creation song. Maybe we can imagine ourselves to see how God was creating the world when He gave light over darkness, and then the sky and the seas. And on the third day, what a wonderful, magnificent creation of God, the plants and the trees. And on the next day, the birds and the fish. How wonderful are these creation. Nature is the most beautiful creation of God indeed. Creation provides shelter to all living creatures on earth. Let us consider the quotes given by well-known people. For instance, Albert Einstein says, "Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better." Nice indeed. Just looking at nature, understanding everything better could be. We can try it. Then number 2, this is from Martin Luther King Jr. He says, "For in the true nature of things, if we rightly consider, every green tree is far more glorious than if it were made of gold and silver." Beautiful. You can see the kind of person Martin Luther King is. The greenery is more important than gold and silver. And for number 3, Mother Teresa shared with us also her quotation, "See how nature, which are, composed of trees, flowers, grass, they grow in silence. See the stars, the moon and the sun, how they move in silence to be able to touch souls." Isn't that inspiring? So nice. I read that all great math and science geniuses are all nature lovers. Could it be that because of their love for nature, they were led to invent things that can be so useful to mankind? However, there are things that we cannot just easily control. Although we really need to protect nature by all means, in our own little way. So let me present to you the breakdown. There are just some people who lack awareness, knowledge, and many personal reasons that can abuse or harm our common home. There are environmental issues. We believe that all these limitations, the abuses of some of us who are not, have maybe less education, have contributed to where the country is right now. We learned in the past that our country lies in the Pacific Ring of Fire, the ring of volcanoes. So we are located in enormous body of water. There, we were told about 60% of typhoons around the world are made in this ring of fire. And therefore, we are prone to volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and typhoons. It was said that about 20 times we will be visited by typhoon annually, and 5 of these are destructive. Added to this, which is scary, and we have experienced it, are the following. Number 1, pollution. And it's not only pollution in air, but in water and in soil. And then they said there are a lot of causes of this. 1 is population explosion. 2, so many vehicles, all kinds, are emitting gases. And when there is terrible traffic daily, then it contributes to the dirt in the air. We see it daily. Early in the morning, if you are in Antipolo, you can see the smogs. Then there is this illegal mining. Aside from some industrial and commercial structures that are emitting gases or contributing to pollution, there is this deforestations too, aside from illegal mining. And then we have this climate change. There are really a lot of threats to environmentalists. And yet the government policies might be trying to address this. Still, these are all contributing to the mental and physical health of mankind. For the pollution alone, when I interviewed some teachers, there is this reality of illnesses that starts with, number 1, throat irritations. I remember when I started working in Manila, I was wondering why many times I get sore throats. And then it would lead to colds and then coughing. Then I was lucky enough, one time when I had my vacation, short vacation, just 1 week in Santo Tomas, La Union. In just 24 hours, I was just wondering how come I was not having sore throat and I didn't have some colds. Then I realized when I come home, it's really an allergy. due to pollution in Metro Manila alone. But in a faraway city where there is more peace and quiet style of life of people is not hurting the environment, then we become free from sickness. It's not only sore throats. It's not only something that will hurt our lungs, but asthma can also be something that will give us problem. I also learned that from some teachers who would walk from home to schools, and then they're so exposed to pollution daily. Let's go now to illegal mining and deforestations. See what happened recently to all these typhoons in Luzon, in Metro Manila alone. And we go far to Cagayan. The Mayor Antonio, just reported that 6 barangays are totally submerged in Alcala, Cagayan. About 10,000 families are affected, and more than 5,000 homes are totally underwater. This is just one example. Even until now, many are suffering. They were not able to even save their clothes, and they do not have food to eat. They've lost their properties. There's nothing. They do not even have homes. It was reported recently, if I'm not mistaken, it was Ian Simbulan of GMA News. He was saying something like about 1,500 hectares of land are lost in Sierra Madre. And if the cutting of trees have been done, and we can say in Tagalog, nakalbo yung bundok, when there is super typhoon, you can expect a calamity. It is a disaster that have killed even lives. It is sad. And then we are here to consider that while we are praying, while we mean so well, there's still something that we can do. And as educators, aside from what we're doing already in our environment, around our yard, in the community, we can still continue teaching our students to love nature, to understand it more. There are reports, for instance, the Business Mirror October 2018 states that most natural disasters are caused by man's abuse of environment. So you see, what I have presented is confirmed by this report. That scientific studies would also tell us something that should scare us. We hope this could help us move further. One is destruction of nature as dangerous as climate change. This is the report of the scientists, and you can see it in my screen from www.theguardian.com. There are a lot of reports that you can see even in Google. 2 is the destruction of nature is as big a threat to humanity. We cannot doubt that because it's happening right now. 3 is the evidence of an environmental crisis. And 4, humans are causing life on Earth to vanish. We need not go further because time is running out, and I know even if I do not discuss at length what's happening, we are aware as educators. So let us now listen and reflect to this song, Masdan Mo Ang Kapaligiran, by the Asin Band. This was played in 1978. Would you believe? And they are very true. Until now, it's still existing. And we never know when is the abuse of nature, of our surroundings, will stop.
pansin sa iyong mga kapaligiran. Kay dumi na ng hangin, pati na ang mga ilog natin.
Hindi nga masama ang pag-unlad at malayo-layo na rin ang ating narating. Ngunit masdan mo ang tubig sa dagat, dati kulay asul, ngayon'y naging itim. Ang mga duming ating ikinalat sa hangin, sa langit, huwag na nating paabutin. Upang kung tayo'y pumanaw man sa sariwang hangin, sa langit natin matitikman. Mayroon lang akong hinihiling, sa aking pagpanaw sana ay tag-ulan. Gitara ko ay aking dadalhin, upang sa ulap na lang tayo magkantahan. Ang mga batang ngayon lang isinilang, may hangin pa kayang matitikman. May mga puno pa kaya silang aakyatin, may mga ilog pa kayang lalanguyan.
Bakit di natin pag-isipan ang nangyayari sa ating kapaligiran?
Hindi nga masama ang pag-unlad kung hindi nakakasira ng kalikasan. Darating ang panahon, mga ibong dala ay wala nang madadapuan. Masdan mo ang mga punong dati ay kay tatag, ngayon'y namamatay dahil sa ating kalukuhan. Lahat ng bagay na narito sa lupa, biyayang galing sa Diyos kahit nung ika'y wala pa. Ingatan natin at huwag nang sirain pa, pagkat pag kanyang dinawi tayo'y mawawala na.
Mayroon lang akong hinihiling, sa aking pagpanaw sana ay tag-ulan. Gitara ko ay aking dadalhin, upang sa ulap na lang tayo magkantahan.
So let's shift gears from breaking down to breaking free. Let us consider the 7 environmental principles from Cuaderno Ilocano that was presented in 2011. I chose to give you this so that upon realization or reviewing what are these principles, it will help us to change our lifestyles. Number 1 is nature knows best. We must not go against what is nature. Let us follow its rules if we want to receive continuously and steady supply of resources. There's one amazing thing that when I discovered from the environmentalist, I was so amazed of its result. It says it is the nature cycling. We need to return back to nature what we have gotten to nourish us. For instance, vegetables and fruits. We use the peeling by cutting it off and spread it out again to soil where our plants are. You will be surprised. It will give you reward. I remember the avocado that was given to us by my brother. It was so good that I was moved to plant it, hoping that someday we would have our own avocado tree. 3 years have passed, but I was wondering how come it is only as high as my gas range. Then when I reviewed what I learned from the environmentalist, I was not aware this is number one principle of nature. I learned to, when I peel off my fruits, or for instance vegetable like sayote, potatoes, I cut it off to small pieces and make it as my organic fertilizer. Now, the avocado tree is as high as my roofs. So it's really fast. Other things that I plant after eating branches of kamote tops and the alugbati. I have some varieties of vegetables where I could plant anywhere in between herbs or medicinal plants, wherever there's a space. I know with this number one principle, we will be careful not to burn waste materials. For instance, dry leaves. We learned from our ancestors that when they do it, they thought they will shoo away insects. But then when you do this, I learned that we also lose our organic materials, organic compound. And we also build up sulfur dioxide and it's spread out in the atmosphere. So we contribute to greenhouse effect. Okay, we go to number 2, principle of nature. All forms of life are important. It is easier to appreciate butterflies for its different colors, and it's nice to watch them flying. Also, the enormous animals like elephant. Why? Because it gives ivory. And then whales that provides oil. And alligator that gives us good and attractive leather. Their products could be very expensive, but then we know that it is important to save them. So the decision is up to those who are in business. Now, there are animals that are not likable, like anything that is wriggling, like earthworm, and then much more snakes. We're afraid of them. And some or many are killing them. But those who understand how life of animals can also be important and can contribute to the control of population, for instance, rats, they take responsibility and they are more careful this time, or they surrender it. That's the good news. They surrender it to the zoo so that they would know how to take care of it. Number 3 is everything is connected to everything else. Just like what happened to deforestation, the outcome, the result of that is so devastating. And now we learned, if there is something that we can do, we will choose to do it. Really pity when there's nothing that we can do. They said that whatever happens to a country, the other countries are affected too. Just like the Chernobyl accident at Ukraine. So the other countries are also affected because the radioactive elements are spread out in the atmosphere. Now everything, number 4, everything changes. So what do we do? Now that we know the climate change will really affect the whole world, now that we know that we are in the typhoon belt, now that we know anything can happen anytime when volcanic eruptions would happen again, just like, Pinatubo, which affected also many parts of Luzon, and even the nearby country because of its the ash, we can become more proactive. It is good if the kind of change that can happen annually, just like the blooming of flowers that occurs during summertime. So that is good to watch at and to wait for. But not everything can be good for mankind. So, we are more prepared. We are willing to teach our children. We are willing to teach our students. Slowly, we will be able to recover. And who knows, just like what happened in Mount Pinatubo when it erupted, many Pampangueños, they were able to build businesses out of ash. The number 5, everything must go somewhere. If we think that we have thrown away paper and we lose it in our sight, it still exists. So everything has a place to go. It is bad when it's plastic, when it's styrofoam. We can only gather all this and bring it through cyclable location, just like junk shop. If we have plastics that were used in wrapping, for instance, vegetable, fruits, fish, meat, it's not good to keep when we see it as dirty, as it's not good to see. And the smell will not be good. So we have to wash it if we are environmentally well. And for us, it's zero wasted. Everything can be reused. Then we can wash it gently with little soap. Dry it out. And we can give it even to garbage men who will give it back to the sellers in the market, in the wet market. Number 6, ours is a finite earth. There might come a time when nature will stop giving. I don't know if I mentioned earlier that before, in Metro Manila alone, there were proliferations of some fruit trees like guava tree, duhat, mabolo tree, makopa, even aratilis. But now, you don't just see them anywhere. Sometimes they become wild and then they are just allowed to grow as big trees until it will yield fruits. So we should know what are renewable materials or non-renewable. Renewable like plants, like air, water. During rainy days, the dam can be replenished. Air, during the ECQ, it was observed that the sky is clear. So there was low level of pollution. Plants, if you lose it, you can replant. You can buy again, or you can ask neighbors, and then you can plant. Or animals or pets, though we would grieve if we lose them. But then they can be replaced. However, for instance, we are pet lovers. So when we lose our pets, no matter how we cared for them, we have been bringing them to vet, but it will still hurt when we lose them. Now we go to non-renewable, like oil, like metal. We only can choose what would be best. And remember that not everything can be given back to us. Now, number 7, nature is beautiful and we are stewards of God's creation. We are very fortunate because of all creation, humans were made in the image of God. I'll get back to that later on. But I am sure most of us, if not all, can be more mindful of observing this beautiful principle of nature. I can also give you some tips from encyclical letter of Pope Francis. I chose some of them only because it's very long and maybe you have heard many of these already in the past. Let us just make some review. Number 1 is reduce, reuse, recycle, and preserve resources. Use them more efficiently. We can reduce utilizing some things. It's a matter of finding out also and working wisely in using it. Reuse, as I said earlier, just like plastic, we can keep it. We can fold it in a neat way and recycle also some boxes or some gift wrappers. I hope the others wouldn't mind for as long as it looks neat and new. You can say this is reusable wrapper. Changing lifestyle means being simple too. So, number 2, coming from Pope Francis, let us create livable communities with plentiful green spaces for everyone. This is not easy because we do not have much space, especially in Metro Manila. Dikit-dikit na yan eh. However, in our surrounding, those who have not started yet using container gardening, you can do that. So, some of your walls, maybe just outside the yard or somewhere near you, you can do that. Or use the vacant lots. Maybe in the neighborhood, just ask permission. Some neighbors, just like ours, they didn't mind when we planted banana groves. That 45 days banana, so the farmers call it that way because it will not take long and it will yield fruits. You will enjoy it. However, because of the typhoon, when Typhoon Rolly had it fallen with fruits, there were 2 more. Hindi nakaligtas kay Ulysses. But okay lang. I told my brother, don't cut it off for as long as the tree is there and the leaves, because the bunch of fruits are still growing. No? The fruits are growing. So we don't have to cut it off. Yes, it is lying down on the street and we covered it with some leaves. And when I visited it the other day, I saw it was bigger than when it fell down. When we are able to make some livable connections with our neighbors, then it is good. That means also we are well in terms of how we relate with others. Get back to nature for the number 3. Pope Francis says, feel the caress of God. Feel recharged. 4. Create neighborhood networks and improvement programs. Although we cannot gather anymore today, we can connect through online, through SMS messaging, through landline call, so we can create virtual welcoming spaces. 5 is find happiness in simple things. Things that you weren't able to do, or things that we would like to do before but cannot. Now we can. We have more time. Our time was saved because of pandemic. We need not go and be caught to traffic. Now we stay home. We have more time to do things. For instance, painting, crocheting, gardening. There are many more. Reading books, new books, old books that we were not able to touch for so long because we are so busy. So, and many other things. And 6, believe in a happy future, a better tomorrow. We can slow down, recover values, and the meaning of life. Relish it, cherish it. Life is beautiful. 7, less is more. Stop needless consumption. True. I know some friends who would not do tiyaga, who are not that patient, so they would rather buy new materials. Sometimes because of what I have learned, that everything that can still be used, reusable, you gather it. When I improved it and clean it, I find those who are willing to take it because it's still very useful, and it makes me feel good in doing it when others appreciate, even if it's just secondhand but still useful, they are happy. Number 8, master how to conserve energy and follow water savings. Many of us know this already. But sometimes it's hard when you have some kasambahay who would not know how to save water. They leave what they are rinsing, and then they did not realize they have wasted a lot of water. So with this kind of behavior by some of our friends, we can just remind them. In my case, it is also good that what we have rinsed, what we use for rinsing, we keep it, we save it, and we can use it in cleaning our cleaning our garage, our terrace, windows, anywhere else. I also remember that when there were a lot of santol, our 3 neighbors around have big santol trees. When it's the season of fruits, they will just fall down and nobody would care. So my brother started picking it up. I learned to peel it off and then made an achara or pickles. And we know that achara is very good for our stomach. And then, so that I can preserve it, I use bottles, and I did not have to sanitize it by boiling it. Because if we are conserving energy, all I did was to expose them under the sun for half day. And true enough, when I use it, it is very effective. It is good. It could have even been effective more than boiling to sanitize the bottles. Okay, so now we go to breakthrough. There will be suggested tasks. Task 1, help clarify the values of our students. This is to care for our common home. Students believe in us, feel so good that even if they have graduated already for so long and they become professionals, they do remember us because what we taught them is something that they can keep and still doing, and it gave them much benefits. Task 2, tell your students to plant vegetables in any vacant lot around the home or just do container gardening. When we sponsored this kind of seminar in many parishes and as far as San Pablo, Laguna, the priests are very grateful because when they followed the suggestions of the speaker, they have harvested a lot of vegetables and they shared it with their neighbors, much more for the poor. The others, when we did it in San Pedro, Laguna, so many of those living in the slum area started doing container gardening. And when we went back after a year, they were happy to report to us that they have enough vegetables, they are able to sell it, and they are able to share it even with neighbors and relatives. Now, finally, let's go to breakthrough. Okay, I have mentioned it, and then we do now the reflection. Number 1, how does your personal environment impact your well-being? I remember University of Minnesota asked this question because they believe in their findings our environment can influence our moods and behavior. Now we remember the important law of nature. The number 7, I said I'll get back to it. It says there, it is beautiful and we are stewards of God's creation. we ask ourselves, number one, what have we done as image bearers of God? 2. What are we doing for God to protect and save His gifts to us, our habitat? And what are we supposed to do for Him, for His greater glory? Remember, when I started my presentation, I presented to you the creation song. It is so beautiful to relish and to witness, to imagine how God was creating everything that gives life. And so I'm closing remembering the new encyclical letter of Pope Francis. The Fratelli Tutti means solidarity, sisterhood, brotherhood, love for others, love for mankind, and avoiding war. There are so many things that I know we have placed into our hearts. And our desire is just to become, indeed, environmentally well people. We believe that many of us teachers who are so devoted and committed to our vocation, to prepare younger generation to lead our country, can be our legacy. Can you imagine if we have students who turn to be environmentalists or civil engineers or architects, just like architect Palafox, who taught us how to do the adaptive architecture. So even the roof of our house can be turned a garden that can absorb carbon dioxide and it may yield more oxygen. So we turn now to our students also to continue giving them the best ideas, principles, and values that they can live forever to help save and protect our nature. With this, we are multiplying all those who can be environmentally well. With God's grace, we will try. Thank you for listening. God bless us.
If everything must go somewhere according to the 7 environmental principles, then what really happens to the plastic that you throw away? Is there really a place called away? Now that you have been staying at home most of the time, how is the state of plastic accumulation there? How does this make you feel? And what actions can you do to show how much you care for our common home? This has been Gail Galang. See you again next time on our sacred space, our peaceful classroom.